Hey, everybody, welcome in. It is time for another episode of Three Guys Before the Game. This is episode number 469. And our title is Josh Eilert Elevated. West Virginia has its new basketball coach, and it is a member of the WVU staff who has been on the WVU staff for the entire tenure of Bob Huggins. Josh Eilert will serve as West Virginia's head basketball coach in the coming season on an interim basis. The announcement coming Saturday night, 7 days after Bob Huggins formally resigned as the head coach. So, a lot has gone on in the course of a week. We'll get into all of that and more. Dean is here, no longer with his scooter. That's gone. He's back to walking normal. And the senator is here as well. Three Guys Before the Game is brought to us by the Burdett Camping Center. They're the only warranty forever RV dealer in all of West Virginia. Visit them at burdettcamping.com. Three Guys also brought to us by Comax Business Systems, keeping West Virginia's business data safe, secure, and efficient for 25 years. By Lou Wendell Marine Sales in St. Albans. They sell family fun. It's the pinnacle of pontoon season right now.
Yep.
Senator, you going out today?
Well, I'd like to. That was the original plan, was to head out today. Beautiful, 80-some degrees today.
Oh, gorgeous. Lou Wendell Marine Sales, they sell family fun. Visit LouWendellMarineSales.com.
Get a big soft drink.
Go to Go-Mart, by the way, and get like a 52-ounce sippy cup of something in there.
Big giant 7-pack of Reese peanut butter cups.
Yeah, bring those out onto the, because you always get hungrier, right, when you're on the water. Three Guys also brought to us by, well, just who we were talking about, the great folks at Go-Mart. With summer and all the travel, you can now save big on gas with your Go-Mart Rewards card, where you earn points for all of your purchases. Right now through the end of July, you can triple those points every Tuesday with every purchase. Think about that, excluding fuel. You make triple the points. So if you've got a Go-Mart Rewards card, you go in there from now until July 31st, triple your points. They got all that kind of stuff. You got that big cryptid thing going on there. You got, remember last week we were showing you all that stuff?
Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Look at like the
Big bag of Funyuns.
first row middle column. You got a ram there with those Utz potato chips. Go in there and get yourself a 72-pound bag of Utz potato chips. Ripples.
Oh, those are good, too.
Ripples. All right. Let's do this thing. So, once again, we're in here for the second week in a row on a Sunday.
Anything happening?
So let's jump in. Obviously, a lot has happened since the last time we got together. The last time we got together, it was just a mere matter of hours after Bob Huggins resigned as West Virginia's basketball coach. And so in the 7 days that passed, there were a tremendous amount of things that went on. And we're here to kind of try to put context into things that went on, to do some breakdown, to do some explaining what's happened, what is happening, and now looking ahead, what potentially could happen to this roster. So, firstly, the emotions of this story have obviously been extremely, extremely raw from the point that it happened. And everyone is expressing emotions in some form. From Coach Huggins' daughter, who early last week, early in the past, Monday, I guess it was, or Tuesday, Jackie put out a Facebook post which received a great deal of attention. You have players through their social media posts. You have the search going on. You have just obviously it seems as though people with many different ideas across and opinions across the board. And so this is a very, very raw emotion story. And one of the things that kind of sits with me as we get ready to break this thing down is you being the listeners, you being the fans. And if you're listening to this, you're probably in that category of not just a casual fan. You're probably at that, really, really super P1 passionate fan. To me, that's the biggest story. That's the biggest story. For everything else that's happened outside of this story and what's happening here and what's happening there, the most important thing for me is the program. Because time never stops. West Virginia's got a basketball program, and fans, if you don't have fans, you have nothing. And as a result of that, I think that the reason why the emotions were so peaked at this is because there was great anticipation building for this coming season. And I think everyone now is feeling that what they thought was going to happen may now not happen, or it's just been impacted by what has happened over the horrific timing of this entire situation. So to me, I feel for the folks out there that are passionate fans and have been for years, and those that make the commitment to follow this team one way or the other, that to me is the most important thing. The other stuff will take care of itself. So let's jump on in.
Hold on one sec. I know you've got a lot of help. Let me slide in here before you. I'll cede the floor to you. The additional part to what you said right there, I think is important moving forward as well. Because as the statements all said, the national search is ongoing as well. And whether that ends up being a magical season and this group makes a run and Josh Eilert ultimately becomes the full-time head coach, or it goes back into search mode, there are people across the college basketball landscape that are watching how the fans react to all of this and what is said and how the needles are moved. And all these different interactions that happen aren't just being watched here locally. This is now on the national radar for the next 9 months. That's not going to go away. That didn't end with the elevation of Josh to the head coaching position. So fans are not only it's not only important to the program, but it's in the immediate importance of this program on how it's perceived by potential candidates that Ren Baker may talk to after the basketball season.
And let me stop you again before you start. That was not the day. But let me just.
Okay.
Good to see you. Thanks for being here.
Hey, thanks for. Hey, you want your mic on? No.
No, just leave it off. That's fine.
Again, as I said earlier, most people that are listening to this are they get it, high level. They know everybody. They know all the pieces to it. Just let me give you a little background on Josh Eilert. Okay.
All right.
So Josh Eilert is a native of Kansas, Osborne, Kansas. He was a player, went junior college, then he played at Kansas State with Jim Woolridge, who was the former head coach at Kansas State. When his playing days were over, he became a graduate assistant. When Bob Huggins became the head coach at Kansas State, Josh Eilert was in the office. In other words, he inherited Josh Eilert. And he immediately took a liking to him, obviously, and kept him for that one season he was there. And so when Bob Huggins left Kansas State to come to Morgantown, he brought Josh Eilert with him in a staff role. And so Josh has been here for the entire course of the 16 seasons and has filled different roles along the way. I've always viewed him as having incredible patience to wait his turn, because I'm talking about the patience just to get elevated to an assistant's role. He always wanted to coach. And so he came in at the level of climbing that ladder, and Dobo, director of basketball operations and staff, and then video and all of those things, until eventually with Eric Martin's departure in the last offseason, that's when he finally got elevated to the assistant coach's role. So Josh has been here the whole time. The other piece to this is I've also always viewed Josh as extremely intelligent, extremely basketball savvy in the X's and the O's of this. And so you see, and I think you just saw the picture for those of you that are watching, I mean, he has been at the shoulder of Bob Huggins on that bench for a number of years. Even before he was an assistant coach, he was there in that capacity as well. So from an X's and O's perspective and standpoint, I mean, he's right there. And a lot of what you've already seen is a result of his involvement already. So that's just in case you didn't know, or this name today you're waking up and you're saying, I've seen him on the bench, but I didn't know who he was. So that's him.
One comment on Josh, then I promise Hop will turn it over, because we'll come back. I think at the end, after we go through all this, the next piece then is what happens moving forward and what are the immediate things that Josh has to address right away. We'll get into this. The one thing I'll say about him in this situation, for him personally, what a tremendous opportunity this is for him. As you said, extremely patient, has waited this out almost 2 decades to get his opportunity, and he personally is in an interesting spot. If those players return out of the portal, which we'll get to in a minute, and this roster has some talent returning to it, and this team can come together and they go on and win some games, Josh moving forward is going to be in a really good position from his career, whether that's here or the opportunity for another AD somewhere else to look at this and go, man, he inherited an absolute near impossible situation, given the timing, given the situation, given the league that he's going into. If they can win some games, Josh is in a great spot personally. And if it doesn't go as well, I don't know that he has a lot of risk here because of the keys he was handed to the car when it was already going at 60 miles an hour, and he had to jump from the one car into the other car that's speeding down the road. He's doing his best to keep the thing on the road. So from a Josh Eilert perspective, tremendous opportunity that may speed up his next move in college basketball.
You know, almost, and this one just hit me, literally just hit me, almost Joe Mazzulla-like, in that you're inheriting a team.
That's a good point.
That's already been put together, and here, take it and go.
Yeah.
And see what you can do. So that's that. Also, again, personality-wise, Josh is a no-nonsense guy. I mean, good personality, fun-loving, but he is farm tough. Raised in an incredibly small community. I mean, a farmer, which is always a good thing. So now we'll cede my moments to a dairy farmer, Hoppy Kercheval. Hoppy, your time has come. So
didn't know he was a farmer.
Oh, yeah, very much so. Yeah, beef.
And I want to talk about Eilert, too. But first, Tony, Brad, you guys have mentioned all those impacted by this. The fans, the players, recruiting, the whole transfer portal, all that stuff in flux, all that changed dramatically within the last week. The impact on the university as a university. You know, by the way, you may have heard the university is going through trying to figure out how to cut $42 million from the budget, which starts with the top officials at the university. So I'm sorry, we can't work on that right now because we've got to deal with this coaching situation, the impact on the university as a whole, the donors, the supporters. All of those entities impacted. All those impacted because of what? Because of Bob Huggins' behavior. That's where this starts. This starts with Bob Huggins' behavior. It starts with the comments. It starts with 3 things. It starts with him as a head coach accumulating too much power and nobody checking his power over the years. It starts with his comments on a radio show in Cincinnati that were homophobic, anti-Catholic, anti-particular university, to which he almost got fired. There were a lot of people who wanted him fired. A lot of people didn't. Second chance. I said he should have a second chance. So there was that. His behavior. Then the promise that he would do better. There was a specific promise after that 6 weeks ago. I know I did wrong. I will do better. He did not. The next time he was in the news was because his vehicle was stopped on a street in Pittsburgh with a shredded tire. He's severely intoxicated, doesn't know where he is. And because of that behavior, which he promised he would not do. I'm not sure about drinking, but he said he would do better. Because of that particular behavior by him, all of these things are impacted. All of these things. Tony, you talk about the fans, you talk about the impact of the program. All of those things stem from his behavior. That needs to be kept in mind throughout all this. So now you hear about these attempts by, whether it's by Huggins, who has not maybe emotionally accepted the fact that he has resigned from his position under force, or whether it's his sycophants or his, the people in his posse who want to impact what's happening going forward. They need to have a reality check and understand why all this is happening. And it's because of his behavior. Period, exclamation point.
Seems as though you had a lot stored up there.
Well, we've been talking about this and thinking about this for a week. How much time and energy has everybody spent on this? Seriously. And I'm not just talking about reporters. Who cares about us? But I mean, the university, the donors. Now, I mean, how much energy has been burned on this over the past week? And we're going to talk about, wow, they couldn't. And Brad, because of, and I know you're going to get into this, I'll defer to you on this, because of the timing of his behavior, you cannot do and could not do the search which you are obligated to do.
Well, yeah, and I think we said that last Sunday, is that the timing of this being in June rather than March eliminated some guys off your list that would have been in the mix. And I thought that was an interesting thing to watch as this search has moved over the last week. It's still, guys, it went incredibly fast. To go from where you were this time last Sunday to where you are now that somebody is in place, that was an incredibly fast search that Ren Baker had to do some quick work in identifying some people that he wanted to talk to first in an effort to go after John Beilein as that potential interim stopgap, to evaluate that. And that's part of what Ren Baker's supposed to do as the AD, right? That's what we've talked about. He has to evaluate all of those things before just rushing into a decision.
And I guarantee that the university wanted a person, not only a good coach, but also a person of character, all right? I know that sounds weird in college athletics these days, but I think that that's what WVU is looking for. And Brad, you go, let's say you're the coach of a team and WVU comes to you and says, we'd really like to talk to you about this job. And you go, man, I'm interested in that job, but I've made a commitment to these players, to this university, and I can't do that now. That's character. So ironically, the very quality that you're looking for in the next coach disqualify them from being your next coach.
Yeah, that's an interesting way to say that. And I do think the NIL situation and the portal situation made this search extremely unique from anything you've seen before. And as I outlined earlier on Sportsline, it's what allowed Ren Baker to talk to a John Beilein and have a serious discussion or discussions with John Beilein about returning in that interim role. But what it also did for the commitment part, because listen, Hub, we've seen college coaches that have made commitments to recruiting classes for decades break that commitment in a heartbeat and go to the next job, have we not?
Yes.
But the NIL and portal make it a little bit different because you're doing a different recruiting job with your returning players. And there's some that have gathered dollars to return and have bypassed dollars at other places. That's the one different part in this. And so the level of commitment and the timing in which to do it, when you have secured your roster, you have told your administration that you're staying, and a couple months have passed, not like a couple days, a couple months have passed, I think there's no doubt that made this a more difficult search and limited what your options were going in.
Which we'll get to, which was why you end up with not end up, but why you get Josh Eilert. But the one exception was John Beilein. The one exception was John Beilein because he was not going to leave a program, not going to leave players. So, and WVU, I think, talked till they were blue in the face to try to get John Beilein. John Beilein was interested in the position. But in the end, here's a guy who's 70 years old. He's thinking about retirement. He's had an incredible career. And let's face it, we may sit here and say, this is a great job. This thing now is somewhat chaotic because of the events of recent. So did John Beilein really want to go, do I really want to do that at this point in my life, in that career? And I think he got scared off. Not scared per se, but just like, do you want to, after this long and storied career, do you want to go through what he may have to go through if he came here?
Well, let's jump in here. Let's talk about the week gone by as best that we can as far as Ren Baker goes and making this hire. So a week ago, he starts the process. And to our belief, first thing he does, he reaches out to agents to gauge current sitting coaches and levels of interest. And he does that for a day or so. And I think he comes to a conclusion pretty quick that, like you said, it's too late. The timing on this, it's July. What
it's
is
going to be July before the coach gets
It's
here.
July, right? It's just midst of everything that goes on. He comes out of this and goes like, okay, could I probably go get a mid guy somewhere? But then I got to live with the mid guy.
Right.
Right? It's kind of like Las Vegas marriage. Like you get married, but you really don't want to be married the day after the marriage because it was late at night. I don't think he wanted to do that. And I think that's when it became obvious that, okay, let's look at this interim potential. And as he said in his release last night, he talked to a bunch of people to try to get a feel of this thing. And that led them to this conversation with John Beilein. But as we talked about, and we talked about this on Sportsline, and you can jump in here, I think the unstable nature of the roster, ultimately is probably what made a lot of people leery because they're not sure what they were buying. They're not sure what they were getting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Fair?
And if I'm John Beilein and I'm going to come back and put my reputation on the line and try and help, then I need to be assured of what I'm buying. I need to know what the ingredients are if you're going to ask me to cook dinner. And if you're not sure of that, then I understand why that might not have made sense. I get it.
And if you come back again, he's had this incredible career, including his career at WVU, and you come back, and because of the portal that everybody leaves or significant players leave, and you're looking at a 6-win season or an 8-win season, that's not how you want to. That's not how you want to end your career. That's not what you want to do late in your career, right? So,
okay, so that goes away, and then it becomes the process of if not, then who? And it sounds as though, all of the assistants on the current staff had conversations, correct?
Correct.
Okay, because you're more schooled in on this than I am. So they had conversation.
Yes.
Okay. And ultimately, Josh is the person that impressed them the most.
Josh Eilert had a really good interviews, really did well. I think that those making the decision were impressed with his intellect, with his answers, with his commitment. And I think it's interesting that, and look, I would imagine they had to have the Huggins discussion with him, right? I mean, because WVU, the people making the hire are the people who fired Bob Huggins. The people making the hire fired Bob Huggins. I know it's a resignation, but it was either resign or get fired. So you figure they had to have the Huggins conversation with him. You've been with him 16 years. What are you going to be? Is Huggins going to be the de facto head coach here? And I don't know the answer to that, but I would presume that they got an answer that satisfied them because they hired him on the interim basis. Because the people who fired Bob Huggins do not want Bob Huggins as the de facto head coach. They want to move on. And apparently they were convinced enough that Eilert would be able to move on. And two things about that, guys. Remember, when Huggins, I'm going to go back to the point about Huggins. When Huggins did what he did, he not only threw a lot into chaos, including himself, but the assistant coaches. Brad, you've talked about that, where, okay, if Huggins is gone, what happens with the assistants? So their livelihood was put at risk because of Huggins' behavior, number one. So that can't feel very good for Josh Eilert and any of the other assistants. And the second thing is, this is Eilert's opportunity. He's never been a head coach. He's gotten an opportunity to be a head coach at the D1 level in the Big 12 at WVU. What are you going to do with it? You've been handed it. What are you going to do with it?
Yeah, and we'll get into that, and that's what we talked about a minute ago. I think your comparison to Joe Mazzulla is a pretty good one there, actually. But yeah, I said here last Sunday, let's just stay on this for a minute. I said I had a tremendous amount of respect for that staff that was left behind there for trying to keep things together while worried about their own livelihood. So for those guys to have another year at least of some stability there, I feel good for them and their families because they went through a really chaotic week as well. There's no question.
Yeah. Three Guys Before the Game is brought to us by the Burdett Camping Center. They happen to be the only dealer in the state of West Virginia when it comes to trailers and travel trailers and RVs that gives you a warranty that lasts forever. You buy it, and the warranty lasts as long as you own it, which is that's a good deal. And right now, $10,000 off on the unbelievable Forest River travel trailer, $10,000 off The Forest River travel trailers known for their top-notch quality, reliability, always a great camping experience. And right now, the sale that they have and the deal that they're giving, that's on the 265 RTK, which I think, Hoppy, you have in your catalog of vehicles. 13 feet of cargo space, enough to sleep 4, raised rear ramp, patio deck. Whatever you need, man. Fully equipped kitchen. Quad bikes, need to take those, kayaks, all that kind of stuff. Check it out, Burdette Camping. Unbelievable selection at BurdetteCamping.com. 3 Guys also brought to us by Comax Business Systems. They began a business 2.5 decades ago, kind of like the local copier guy, and have expanded tremendously. And now they have become the de facto place to go for the protection of your business data, your IT security for your business, and even your phone systems. So anything you need, they'll come in, do an assessment, tell you where you're good, tell you where you're bad, and how they can help you. From 1 digital phone line to 1,000 phone lines. Check them out. ComaxWV.com. That's ComaxWV.com. On Thursday, Trey Mitchell put his name into the portal. He visited Kentucky this weekend. Friday, Joe Toussaint, the transfer guard that came to West Virginia from Iowa and played here last season, put his name into the portal. Kerr Carissa, who has not played at WVU, transferred in from Arizona. He also is in the portal. So 3 in the portal. And the question now is, do any of them come back to West Virginia? It will have a significant impact, obviously, on Josh Eilert and the wins and losses for this season.
One of the advantages that Eilert had was that we understand, and Tony, you would know this better than I do, is that he has a good relationship with the players, so that Eilert is in a position to try to retain most or all of those guys. That's another thing that helped with the decision on Eilert.
Now that needs to happen. I mean, now that you've named Josh, now let's move forward, because to me, this is the most important piece. It's been the most important piece all along. You've got to have guys. They've assembled what you think is a pretty talented roster here. You've got to keep this roster together. Now, 2 of the 3, the fact that Mitchell has already visited Kentucky would lead, if you had to lean, if this is a recruiting lean, you'd have to lean that he's headed somewhere else. Fact that he's visited there. The other 2 is really interesting because I've definitely not seen it in the same day with 2 recruiting announcements, where at the end of the recruiting announcement, the national guys on the information they were receiving both added to both of them, WVU remains an option to return. I've not seen that. I don't remember that. No, we've seen a lot of football players leave. I don't remember seeing that before. So I think that tells you something. Now I think it's critical. Now
what do you think it tells you?
It seemed as if that was a play to say, hey, Ren, hire Josh Eilert and we'll consider coming back here, is what it seemed like. I don't know if that's true or not. That's what it appeared to. You don't see that line written very often in transfer announcements. Usually when guys are hitting the portal, they're gone. That was not the case for Carissa and Joe Toussaint. But now it's critical. If that was part of the advantage of staying internal with the staff, then do you lose some of that advantage if you lose 3 pieces to this class? I think what happens next is just as critical as what's happened over this last week. You have got to get some guys in here. And then, fellas, it becomes incumbent on those players to step up and perform this year. They're being paid. There's a lot of money being laid out for these players. There's a significant investment made by people to these players. It's now their program. Right? These are guys that have come in for the most part that didn't have a connection with West Virginia, that the future of the program is now in their hands. They have got to not only come back and work hard, they have got to perform at a high level in a very difficult league.
Absolutely. I mean, there is an expectation that they would do that. Another interesting part about this is you would think that a player wants to play for a great coach, right? Player wants to play for a great coach that gets the most out of the player. Ironically, he said for the second time in the program, ironically, those players entering the portal made the coaching search much more difficult. Their actions made the search more difficult. Now, I understand they want to look out for themselves, but they could have waited 5 minutes. could have waited 5 minutes. This search wasn't going to last a month. It was going to happen very rapidly. Those players could have waited a couple days.
Okay, but why? So then play forward. Why not wait a couple of days?
I don't. What?
Why not? Well, that's why I said it seemed as if they were trying to send a message to say we would like somebody from the current staff to be named. Otherwise, why wouldn't you just wait and see who was named?
So that was a power play by their part to get Eilert.
Well, give me the opposite argument to that. Why not wait?
I don't think I have one, except just like, oh, geez, this thing's crashing and burning. I'm getting the heck out of here.
But they haven't gone anywhere yet.
See, but the point to that, though, Hoppy, is they could have waited until Monday. I mean, Joe Mazzulla and Mike Gansey did a Zoom call early in the week telling those guys, hey, guys, we feel you. We hear you. Just chill for a second. Let this happen. And then if you want to leave after they make the announcement, you can leave. So
there was still time.
I mean, they could have done it.
The window wasn't closing.
It's Saturday. If they named the coach on Saturday night, then on Sunday today they could have put their name in the portal. Like Monday, there was nothing there other than what Brad says, the apparent little jab step in basketball terminology, like who's going to blink here. That's what it looks like.
Okay.
Now,
but again, if that's the case, then it's incumbent on those guys to exit the portal, come back to West Virginia, and move forward at a really high level, of performance. And there'll be a lot of times to talk about what a challenge this league is going to be, what a challenge the schedule is going to be, all of that stuff. But if that's what those players wanted, and they wanted Josh Eilert installed, and they now got that. So get out of the portal, come back, and get to work if that's the case. Because if it's not, guys, if those three pieces that we mentioned, if everybody else remains, and those three pieces, Kriisa, Toussaint, and Mitchell all leave, that's a hell of a big hit you just took. Personnel-wise, that is a mass. Your starting point guard and your backup point guard, or two of your guards that are going to play heavily, just exited the program. That's a massive, massive hit and makes a difficult job for Josh and this staff much more difficult than it just was 12 hours ago.
You're absolutely right. What happens here with those folks is going to be just it will be a massive storyline for the rest of the season. If they're gone, when this team goes to Italy in a month, they're going to go to Italy August 1st.
They still going to go?
Oh, sure. Absolutely. Now you need it more than ever.
Absolutely.
Like you need more practices. You need let Josh get in there. Let Josh coach these guys. Let them feel how it's going to be when he coaches them. Now more than ever, you need to go to Italy. You'll know. And if those three don't come back, then perception-wise, just from afar, West Virginia is going to go from being a upper half team in the preseason poll to a below half, to wherever that would be that they would fall. So,
I mean, frankly, at this point, if any of those three don't return, it's a hit. If Trey Mitchell decides to go to Kentucky, that's a hit.
Absolutely.
That's a hit for a guy that played a ton of games, that understands it, that's already been in this system for a year. You already went through some of that. A guy that's ultra talented, as we know, that's a hit in and of itself. If you didn't, in fact, keep the roster in place, which was one of the goals of going this direction, is keeping that roster in place. If you're not able to keep the roster in place, then, man, that's a hell of a hit here. It really is.
We're going to find out. You know what the old saying goes, money talks, and we're going to find out. We'll see if that money talks. If other schools are out there offering more change, that's the world that you're living in now. And that'll be another unintended consequence of the horrific timing of all of this. That'll be another unintended consequences. There's unintended consequences that we're seeing now. There's going to be unintended consequences from here for the rest of the season. And go, oh, I didn't think about that. Oh, I didn't think. Oh, I didn't. Yeah, that's all going to happen.
And that's one of the the interesting things as you move forward here. There's the roster is number one, but the other part of this is how this group collectively handles adversity. Because it's going to hit adversity. So that's not just a Josh Eilert question as a first-time head coach, is how he's going to manage those rough seas that are coming. But it's also this locker room. It's incumbent upon this locker room to develop some leaders itself and have some player-led responsibility here. This isn't, if you've got a youngish staff now in Josh Eilert, I know Ronnie's got a ton of experience, and an Alex Ruoff that's going to play an important part, and a DeMar Johnson that hasn't been coaching all that long. I mean, think about what we just said there. That's not extensive experience coaching. Then you have an experienced roster, not at West Virginia, but across college basketball. Your best teams are always player-led, correct?
Absolutely.
So that's an element of every great team anyway. This team's going to have to find that quickly, and it needs to find it like right now as we record on Sunday morning. There better be some internal people. This isn't just, hey, Josh, you're the head coach and you're the only one speaking to this group. There better be some dudes in that locker room getting the other guys together saying, okay, we've been dealt some adversity here, but we're staying, we're going to keep this together, and here's how this is going to work moving forward. That has to happen right now, and it has to be definitive and strong, or this program has no chance in the upcoming season.
We've seen this in sport through time, that when teams take on it's us against the world mentality. We've seen those happen. We've seen and we've heard stories after it's happened where teams said, no one was giving us a chance. Everyone had us marked for dead. And that's what has to happen with this team. Think about this. It was already going to be a coaching challenge to bring all of these new personalities together and blend them together.
As it was last year.
Personality-wise, culturally, and then X's and O-wise. That was already going to be, whomever the coach was going to be, that was going to be the single biggest challenge of this year's basketball team. And we talked about that long before any of this stuff happened. It's how they come together. The ingredients were there. How do they blend together? Now, it's even more important. That's why that Italy trip will be huge, because you go away and you're together, and that you can expedite your growth and your chemistry by going on one of these trips.
Agree.
And supposedly the teams that they're going to play over there are actually good teams. Like sometimes you go over and it's like 7 guys and they're taking off their fluorescent work vests because they were just out on the street and they got 3 cigarettes.
When they had a cigarette outside the gym before they came in.
He walks in, he's got 4 cigarettes around a rubber band, smoking all 4 at once. He walks in, got a duffel bag, puts it down. They play against these teams. They go, hey, guess what? So-and-so team beat this team over in Italy like 122-62. Yeah, they did. Because those guys had to leave and they had to go back because they had to go fix the rest of the road that they were working on. Supposedly, these are going to be good teams that they're going to play, like professional growth men. So you'll get an idea as to where they are.
Well, and listen, I thought last year, that was a question heading into last year, and it's probably a question moving forward every year in college basketball, given how the rosters are going to be. We're going to ask this. This won't be the last time we ask this question. I thought last year's group did a good job. Came together, had some bumpy moments, but ultimately got themselves to an NCAA tournament and were right there with the ability to win a game. So I thought they did a nice job. That resets itself. But that's determined by those guys in the locker room.
Mm-hmm.
They decide.
Coach Stevenson.
He was decide.
Huge.
Yeah, I mean, he was huge. And so who's that going to be this year? They decide if they accept their role. They decide if they like the number of shots they're getting. They decide if they like the system that Josh wants to employ. Are there any new wrinkles from what you've seen from Bob Huggins? That comes from inside. Those guys have to decide, okay, we got our guy. Josh is our guy, and this staff is our guys collectively. Now we need to go out and perform for them to make that look like the good decision that they wanted it to be. This is on players more than it's ever been.
Absolutely. They'll say that they do. They'll say that they're together, and now I want to see it.
Now you got to see it.
I want to see when it comes time to look at the stat sheet, and he got 9 shots, and I got 3 shots, and do it next time I go out. Is it going to be time for got to get my turn? If you get that, you're going to have a problem.
Because here's the other part. So one of the things, what do new coaches always say when they take over the job? It's not the basketball stuff that gets them, right? It's the external stuff that happens, the extra things that you have to do. My guess would be the department's going to minimize some of that stuff for Josh. They're not going to run the dog and pony show that you would normally do with a new head coach and trot him everywhere. They're going to give him a chance to focus on the things that he can control. So that helps. But number 2, this team helps itself the most by accepting and listening and doing that role. You don't need to give Josh Eilert more things to manage outside of the court than what he's already going to have to do. That's what I'm watching moving forward. You're going to take a young coach that has not been a head coach. How do you help him if you're the players? Do what you're supposed to do and perform at a high level and take some leadership responsibility. That's what's going to help determine the success of this team and allow Josh Eilert to settle in that role, which is different than anything he's ever had. What do they always say? It's different when you slide over that one seat and now you're making every decision within the program. Meaning that whole program has to help him be able to do that by limiting the things that he has to manage and get involved with.
Let me make 2 other points. One is, I wonder if Ren Baker feels this morning like when he came to Westwood that he got thrown into Cheat Lake with weights attached to his legs. I mean, came in, women's coach left unexpectedly, and, okay, got to deal with that. Financial issues, okay, got to raise money. Football coach, this is a pivotal year, but I knew that coming in. Now this whole thing with Huggins basketball, I mean, whoa, talk about unknowns. And
you want to talk about chaos? The guy arrived amidst chaos.
Yeah.
The AD had been fired. There were questions swirling about whether you were going to keep Neil Brown. Some were putting it at his feet. Are you going to what's the decision? Ren Baker hadn't even arrived, and people were trying to put the decision of a football coach at his feet.
Hadn't even got in a house.
Gordon Gee didn't answer any of those questions. Put Ren Baker right out in front. I mean, the guy arrived dealing with it was a swirl of chaos from the minute the guy's been here.
So these are seminal moments for Ren Baker. Okay, how am I going to respond to this? And so far, I think he's responded very, very well. But also in the back of his mind, you wonder, like, is this all? Is this where I want to be? But anyway, I don't know. I'm just saying he got hit with a lot of curveballs coming in. Second point I want to make is that I know, well, let me go back. I would imagine that because you're hiring a longtime Huggins assistant as the interim head coach, there will be those, and maybe Huggins will be among them. I don't know, but there will be those who will think, oh, okay, now this is laid out for Bob Huggins to come back. He can go to rehab, he can get squared away, and after a year of an interim, he can come back and everything will be okay. Let me tell you this, and I suspect there will be a movement of some magnitude for that by Huggins supporters. There is no sentiment with the president of the university, I suspect with the athletic director, or with the board of governors to have that happen. No one in that circle has that as a plan. None. Too many bridges have been burned. There is no one at that level talking about a scenario of, we get through this and Hugs can come back. That is not on the table. Could it happen? I guess so, but it's not on the table with any of the principals that would make those decisions.
Turning topics here. This is I don't know how I'm going to segue out of this, but as you well know.
Yeah, how do you segue out of that?
I was going to say this. As you well know, we've created the hottest craft beer in the state of West Virginia. Well, we didn't. We didn't. Chestnut Brewworks created the hottest craft beer in the state of West Virginia called Kirchhoff. People, can't get it. It's scarce, can't get it. So now we are debuting our first boutique batches of coffee. Okay, here's the deal, and all kidding aside. So one of the things the three guys, as we get ready for our 6-year anniversary, is going to do is we're going to tout West Virginia businesses, and we're going to promote West Virginia businesses, and that's just what we're going to do. And so Chestnut Brewworks is here in Morgantown, and Bill and the folks there, a fantastic job with the beer. Now, we have our own coffee. We talked about this a little bit. This one is called, you haven't seen this one. This is the Vessel's Reserve Blend. This one's named after you, too, because you're the vessel. It says, kick off your day with the Vessel's Reserve Blend, a coffee with a craft beer twist, locally roasted by the folks at Mountain Table, Renwick, West Virginia. That's available now. And this is the one I've been drinking this week. This is Mountaineer Morning. Rise and shine with Mountaineer Morning. Start your day with the West Virginia way. Again, from the folks at Mountain Table. This is really good. I gave you some on Friday.
Yeah, it was very good.
Thank you. Brought it over to his desk, had a little cup there. I said, here, give this one a sample.
Strong but smooth, not bitter.
Exactly. So that's available for sale right now. Limited run. They did a limited run for us. We do appreciate that. Nadine, the roaster over there, Nadine and Adam, saw the roasting machine when I was down there. Anyway, it's available. Where do you buy that? Go to episode800.com. That's episode800.com. Episode800.com.
Even after I insulted them, they
took that as
how'd they take that?
Well, they hate you. But anyway, that's beside the point. No, they didn't.
I'm just glad that you interrupting a previous podcast by rudely drinking out of your thermos in the middle of it has turned into a nice product.
That was the start, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I didn't think of that. That was the start.
That's like you kicking back, like you're just pouring it right in the little. Did you have one of the plastic cups that comes on top of the thermos?
No, it doesn't have that. It doesn't have that.
Plus, the way he did it, because it was so elitist, because he asked a question.
Elitist, yeah.
And then, like, ask a question, then, like, push the mic away. Now I'm going to get some coffee and not listen to your answer.
Yes. And then kick back.
Yeah, and kick back.
So I'm glad some good came out of that moment.
Yeah, that's good.
Well, here's the deal. I could hear when I was pouring my coffee. You guys are over there riffing. I was just having a coffee. Anyway, this is good stuff. Visit it.
Oh, there
it is right there, episode800.com. You can get it in bean form. You can get it ground, whatever way you want to do it. Plus, we got all our we got merch on there as well. Other merch. Got that really? Did you see that?
Where are Nadine and Adam located again?
They're in Rennick, which is in Greenboro County. There was a really nice gold long sleeve cotton shirt that's on the site now that says efforting.
Oh.
That's really now that is nice.
Hey, can I give you one other nugget?
Sure.
This, and maybe you guys know this. You know who was interested in the job and was contacted by someone connected to the university?
Tell me.
Tubby Smith.
Oh, yeah. Tubby Smith.
Tubby Smith was interested
He'd be
in the
out
job.
there. Yeah.
And I don't know if he was contacted or not contacted, and Tubby Smith has, because this might be the school, one school he hasn't coached for. He's coached for a lot of schools.
Been a few places.
And I think most recently he was at High Point.
Mm-hmm.
Correct. Is that correct?
Correct.
Mm-hmm. But that's all. Little nugget, throw in there.
And so John obviously got the most traction because of the connection here, and it made the most sense. But when we talked about this on Sportsline, guys, I was opening that discussion as a way to say that there are, in coaching searches now, there will be options available to athletic directors that weren't before, right? I mean, Jay Wright is sitting out. His name's going to come up in every search now. Roy Williams is out there. Tubby Smith is out there. John Beeline is out there. So that's an avenue that wasn't there before that now is potentially.
And you don't know. And you don't know about these guys because some of them, move on, like Jay Wright. I'm done. I'm got CBS. I'm great. And others might be,
Yeah.
got that bug.
And then some of it comes down to what they ask for too.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Do they want just a 1-year deal? Do they want a 5-year deal, 3-year deal, 4-year deal? Just so some of that comes down to that as well.
Three Guys Before the Game is brought to us by Lou Wendell Marine Sales, largest pontoon boat dealer in the state of West Virginia, family-owned for 4 decades, which is always the test of time. If you can stay in business 1 decade, 2 decades, 3, go to 4, it is a successful business. I'll say that again using English. It's a successful business. Avalon Pontoon Boats is what they sell, considered the best in America. 100% manufactured right here in the United States. And it's Lou Wendell Marine Sales. Visit them at LouWendellMarineSales.com. That's LouWendellMarineSales.com. And a reminder, during GoMart's Summer Cryptid Quest, if you've got a GoMart card, which you can easily get rewards past, they ramp up really quick. You unlock all 7 cryptids, you get 5,000 bonus points. Then you redeem those for points to save on gas. Cash it out, check it out, get a GoMart.com, go to get a GoMart card at GoMart.com. That's GoMart.com. You know what we haven't done in a long time?
What?
You know what we haven't done in a long time?
What?
I'm going to tell you what we haven't done in a long time.
Probably could use it.
Yee! We need more than a healing song. We need a concert. All right, here we go. Textual healing. By the way, on that episode 800 website, there's a textual healing thing if you want to send one in that way, too. All right.
Hey, you know one thing I missed in this search that always comes up in every search?
What?
I think we were cheated out of this. There was no reports of anybody's significant other being in town working with a real estate agent.
Or getting their hair done.
Oh, yeah, I remember the hair done. What was that hair done that time? Someone was getting their hair done. I remember that.
Yeah,
that was a
It
weird
was Matt
one.
Rule's wife.
Oh, yeah, Matt Rule's wife.
Sailorton.
Yeah.
Airplane landing, anything? None of that?
This was. Eilerts have a nice house already, so you didn't have to hear any reports of them around here shopping for homes.
Mm-hmm.
Report. Josh Eilert just pulled into his driveway.
There were some horrendous misses. There were some horrendous misses on reporting.
You think?
In this story.
You think?
Some horrendous misses.
Oh, gosh.
They had what was it? Early in the week, they had Jared Calhoun and Andy Kennedy have done Zoom interview calls. Never happened.
But they were interviewed, weren't they? They were interviewed.
They said it happened in the afternoon, or it never happened until maybe like 3-4 days down the road.
But they were interviewed.
I think they were contacted, but when they was reported on Monday, it had absolutely not happened.
Okay.
So, anyway. Text, Ted from Colorado.
No real estate on this one.
Please explain to me the rationale for hiring a coach with no head coaching experience. I like Ren Baker, but this is a decision that I have a hard time wrapping my head around. I think we probably just answered that as to how it came about, as to why this makes the most sense at this point, because of the bad timing of all of this. And now Josh will get his opportunity. You know, we often say, right, life is all about timing, and, you know, right place, right time. Well, that's how this kind of stuff happens. Texter, guys, did Hoppy beat his arch nemesis to this story? Oh, look what we have there. Hoppy, you did, in fact, have it first, and you beat Pete Thamel, the ultimate, your ultimate foil in your journalistic career. You beat him last night.
I can retire.
Huh? So how'd that feel when Thamel finally didn't beat you at the pass?
Oh.
Did it feel as good as you thought it would?
It felt pretty good. I am very competitive.
Yeah.
And I feel like, and it really, and I'm probably too prideful, but also this is, Brad and Tony, this is our state. This is our university. This is our backyard. Whether it's me or somebody else in West Virginia, this story, those leading the story should be from here. I think that, you know, and frankly, well, I'll just leave it at that.
Oh, so that's what gets you fired up. I see.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit.
Yeah, that's fine.
A little bit. It's just
fine.
like, wait a minute. This is our turf.
I get it.
And if we can't excel on our turf, then so.
I get you. You know what bothered me? I was angry on Friday. I was angry on Friday on Sportsline. I was just mad. I got mad as the day went on. I got mad when these portal announcements.
Was grumpy.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I got mad when these portal. You know what made me mad?
What?
What made me mad was when I looked down on ESPN in the lower third and I see these announcements. And it makes us look like some slapdicks. That's what makes me mad. Well, because it just shows turmoil, and it shows chaos, and that's the kind of stuff that we often laugh at when it happens.
And the appearance that it was imploding, right?
The appearance of a dumpster fire. That's what made me mad, for the same reason that you just said. Because, you know, while I wasn't born here, I've been here now for 39 seasons of West Virginia basketball, from Gail Catlett to John Beeline and now Bob Huggins. Like, you know, so like I'm invested. And when I see it look destabilized, when I see it look, like I just said, like unstable, that really pisses me off.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, because you're part, and that's why there are things that you're limited in what you can say and should say, because you're part of the program.
Yeah, it's a weird position that I sit in, but that's my bottom line to the thing, is that it looks chaotic, and that's what makes me mad.
But that's part of why I say it's incumbent on these players moving forward to stabilize the ship and make it not be chaotic. I mean, they still have the ability to make the chaos reign.
Absolutely.
Or they can bring it back in and be part of the solution moving forward. And that's how you become a beloved group of players with this fan base, is that you come back in these situations and rally it and play well.
You're right.
And then this staff and those particular players will forever hold a place in the fans' heart that they said, listen, in an absolute chaotic situation, those guys came back, rallied the troops, put on the old gold and blue, and went out and performed. That's why I say that. Josh is going to do that from his position. The rest of the staff, Ronnie Everhart, Alex Ruff, I would assume Jamar Johnson, are going to do that as well. The players have to step forth now. This moving forward, so this story that we just covered was about the coaches. To me, the next immediate story here is what do these players do next? Who leads, who are leaders, and who has some character to step up and make this right?
Yes. Do you remember when Rick Pitino inherited the Kentucky basketball program, and he had an undersized group, and I believe, was it Travis, what's his name, Ford? Travis Ford?
Yeah.
And John Pelfrey and those guys?
Yeah, and they made that deep run.
Yeah. What are the Kentucky fans to this day?
Yes.
They love
Hung
that.
a banner for them.
Yeah, they love that team like no love can be spoken, because those kids stayed, they competed, and they got it done. That's the same kind of a situation you could have here. If this group does galvanize and go out there, they will be tremendously well regarded.
Kentucky's a good example, but you could just stay right here and use the same example. I mean, the first group under John Beilein that were babies, I realize, and grew up, are they beloved?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. All right, how about the first group when John went to Michigan and Hug's first crew? Is that crew looked at favorably? Because, and again, I've said this many times, I thought it was one of Bob's great coaching jobs, that he was able to not just say, here's how I play, this is what we're going to do. He melded the two systems. All right, what do you guys do well? So I thought it was one of Huggins' great coaching jobs. But those players will always be remembered for saying they stepped forth. And that's what this group has. What's their legacy going to be? Is their legacy going to be that they stayed and stood behind a guy that's been with them the last 3 months? Or is their legacy going to be,
I'm out.
see ya, we're out, we're leaving? What's it going to be? They're on the clock as of right now.
Barry in Utah writes, I hope this finds you well. Given all the turmoil in WVU athletics recently, I thought a bit of levity might be appropriate. I get out and walk about 3 miles per day and do this mostly along the Wasatch Front in Salt Lake City. I live at the mouth of Little Cottonwood Canyon, the entrance to the ski resorts of Snowbird and Alta. A few days ago.
Very specific.
Yeah. The only thing he didn't do was drop us a GPS pin. A few days ago, I was walking along my normal path and found this bumper sticker that I found amusing and thought you would as well. Mothman made me all the way out to Utah. I attached a picture to see what my regular walks to give you and your viewers the breathtaking views of the mountains in Utah. We can't find the other picture. I sent it, but
What's that say?
Mothman. Some Mothman. I break for the Mothman.
I break for Mothman.
Break for Mothman. I've been there, actually.
Where, Utah?
Right there.
Right there?
Where he
you
is.
Mean with that car?
With that car?
You
No,
took the picture?
where he's talking about, because when we went out and did the Hot Rod Hundley documentary, we spent time out there. And yeah, it is. It's absolutely gorgeous. Texter, Pete in Pennsboro, can you estimate what percentage of athletic department donations pre-NIL are given by private, wealthy individuals versus corporate sponsors versus the average Joe buying season tickets?
I don't know any of that.
Brad, you can do a little bit on this, Brad. So let's walk this through. So he's talking about athletic department donations. So that in itself is a couple of different things. There's Mountaineer Athletic Club donations, which are private individuals, groups of people. The other, so you're talking, that's one way to raise dollars. The other way is by corporate sponsorships, right? That's another way where companies get involved and they become a corporate sponsor. That's money to the university as well. So your question is, can you estimate what the percentage of athletic department donations are given privately by wealthy individuals versus corporate sponsors versus the average Joe? You got anything there, man? How do you? It's a tough one.
I'll be honest. I just don't remember. I mean, I just haven't looked at that in so long. I think he's got that in order of most to least.
Okay.
Private donations to MAC versus corporate versus season ticket sales. I think that's in order of highest to lowest, with TV dollars being the bulk of the income now, I think. Don't hold me to that. Been a long time.
Pete in Pennsboro continues. I think Tony said something about building a new house.
Too busy looking at yards per play now, Hoppy, rather than ticket sales.
Pete says, Tony's building a house. I can only assume that Kirchhoff will be building the Adirondack chairs for the new place. When was the last time you made any?
Oh, I am.
You haven't done anything, have you?
No, I'm embarrassed. I love doing it. I just haven't had the time.
Now, I'll get stuff from my son. My son's doing that now.
He's doing Adirondack chairs?
Doing wood.
Doing wood?
Yeah. You not seen any stuff he's made?
No.
Ooh. He's doing really nice stuff.
Now, this is a former producer on this program.
He did. He got the heck out of here.
3 Guys alum.
Yeah.
He's going to get away from you clowns. Going to go make tables.
He got a big old wood shop. He makes stuff now.
They're really good too, by the way.
Really, you should see these. I've not showed you his stuff.
You've showed me. It's beautiful. I am not in his league. I mean, it's been a while.
Pete says,
you better hurry up and buy him soon, though, because knowing him, as many inches, he'll turn around and be in cars here in about a month. I'm going to get into home building. I'm going to install pools. Watch 3 YouTube videos, know how to install a pool, be doing that. Dude's unbelievable. Seriously.
Really?
It's going to make movie videos. Nah, I don't want to do that. Go make wood tape. Fine, does that great.
Huh.
Built that wood shop. Built an amazing wood shop. Never did a thing in his life. He built this whole wood shop, wired the whole thing.
It is amazing. You can watch on
whirlpool.
YouTube.
Well, I can do that.
Will you be auctioning off your old house yourself, or are you going to move to Pennsboro? Let me know if you are, so I can block off some time on my calendar to show you around Nana's Ice Cream Barn and Paco's Tacos. You can get pretty busy there. But the old water treatment plant is beautiful this time of year. I bet you there's grass this time of year around water treatment plants.
Oh, just
perfect.
Yeah, booming.
Perfect. You go down here on University Avenue where Mub is, that grass is always like really good. Dear 3 Guys, Mike from Salem. I'm sending this on the summer solstice, wanting to know how Tony is handling his sacred day. Did Hoppy ring his bell for the occasion? Has Brad give him down the road for being a glass half empty about losing daylight? Great summer series so far.
Yes. I will say, it's not all is lost. Spent some time at the Mon County Ballpark last night.
Black Bears?
Enjoying the Black Bears game.
Oh.
Looking out over the hill there, looking down, watching. Had my kids with me. After 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
Still
yes,
light.
It was 9:00. Yes.
And I took a moment as he tries to always ruin it. I truly did. Hit my watch. Said, what time is it? I still pretty low. What time? Am I going to get home? What time is it? And I went, you know what? It's after 9 o'clock. This is nice.
Yep.
Thank you, Tony, for reminding us.
So I did take a moment to enjoy, which you always falsely claim is your goal. In saying that, I actually did.
You know, I got my son, Ben, lives outside of Austin, Texas. And I'm killing him because it is like 105 every day.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll take a picture of what his temperature is there, and I'll send it to him like, I know, it's 105. I mean, you can't be outside. You can't be outside there.
Too hot.
I mean, why are you living there? You know, and here, it's beautiful.
Temperature has been awesome, but it is limiting lake time. We need to pop a 90 so we can get some water time in.
Yeah.
We have had a couple of days. We've had a couple of days recently at nighttime where it gets temperature 0. Like I'm on the screen porch.
It is one of his good lines.
It's temperature 0. It's like you just stop. You just stop and you go like, oh my gosh, this is it. It's not too cold. It's not too hot. It's perfect. It's temperature 0. And then same thing last night. I was laying back there and I went like, it's bright outside. I looked at my watch or my phone. It was 9:06, and I went like,
about right when I looked.
This is like, why can't it be like this every night? If it could just be bright, like light, like 9:06 every night and never go away. We get snow for 5 days, December, like 19, 20, 20, and then just over with. Just make that every day. Temperature 0. I'd be the happiest guy in the world if it was always temperature 0, and we have like 5 days of snow around Christmas, and then that's it. All I want is temperature 0. Can I get that?
Here's the other side of that is that yesterday seemed like a long day, and I'm trying to work my foot back in after the injury. So at the end of the day, I was tired, and I was sitting in the living room, air conditioning on, thinking, I got to go to bed. And I looked out. It was still light. I said, I can't go to bed. It's still light. That's the other side of it.
That's how
Why doesn't it get dark so I can go to bed?
I've had that. You've been in Ireland.
Don't wish it away.
You've been in Ireland before. Same kind of a deal. It's like 10, 11 o'clock at night. It's still light outside. You go like, wow. All right, last one. With the guys entering the portal, do they lose the money from the Country Roads Trust, or is it paid up front? Many more questions, so I think it would make an interesting show. So, again, the NIL payments are not all coming from Country Roads Trust. They're also just coming from people, businesses that will hire these guys as 1099 employees. So each deal is different, But from what I'm able to tell, when they get here during the off-season months, they get about 30% of what they're going to get. And then after that, they get paid monthly. It could be twice in a month, or it might just be per month. And so no one's getting just all of it at once. And if they go away, then it just stops. So that's the deal.
So a player that came here, excuse me, and got in like this year and got NIL money, they could have gotten a couple payments, but then still leave.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Now, obviously, they're like, let's just say hypothetically that they signed for, let's just for the hell of it, say $100,000 or $200,000, and so far they've gotten $30,000. Well, they're 170. They're due 170, but if they walk, they're not getting the 170.
Yeah, but they would have gotten the 30.
They would have gotten 30
for non-performance.
Correct. Well, just for being here, for practicing, blah 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 blah.
See, I don't know how this is done. I just think it's a great unknown how these things are done, Brad. Maybe you know, but I think if I were going to pay a player, I would have a contract with with terms, so that if you don't complete the terms that the agreed upon terms of the contract, that you owe me the money.
But in essence, if I started working for you or the company, I would be getting paid for my time here, and if I left, then the payments would stop. How's it any different than a regular employee would work?
I'm per performance. There's been no performance. I would say
there's been no game performance. There's been performance. They've been working out. There's been practice. There's been team meetings. There's been performance. There just haven't been games.
So wait. Time out. The fact that you're saying that is
what?
The fact that you're saying that is illegal.
What?
They're not getting paid on their performance. They're getting paid on their name, their image, and their likeness. There's not a quiz.
Sit over there. We'll continue to have a discussion. Do you have another question? You just sit over there for a minute. Do you have a discussion? They've been performing already. There's been duties performed already.
What?
In order to get paid, you have to do something. In other words, you have to go sign autographs. You have to coach a clinic. You're just not getting paid to show up and work. They're not paid for play.
They've been practicing and going to team meetings and stuff. They just haven't played a game yet.
Not by the rules.
I don't care. You're talking about practice. I don't care about practice. I'm looking at points per game and rebounds per game. That's what I'm paying for.
I understand what you're paying for. I'm just telling you the way it's supposed to work.
It's all that stuff. I mean, they're not just getting a check on game day. There are things that go into game day.
Hey, but all right,
I mean, you're paid for things other than the 2 hours you do your coffee clutch. Conceivably paid for other duties that go into that.
Now he's got his own coffee for his coffee clutch. Episode800.com.
That's a pretty good point.
He's got his own coffee.
That's a pretty good point. That's a great point. That's better than you drinking out of a thermos. You've been calling his award-winning show a coffee clutch for years. Now the man has a coffee.
Now you got your own beans, baby. Hey, one other thing before we go away.
Okay.
Will Wade, we never talked about this, Senator.
Huh?
How about him?
The former LSU coach?
The current, what is he, McNeese? The current McNeese State coach got a 2-year show cause.
Which means what? Because he's coaching. What's it mean?
He can't, right?
I don't think that's what it means.
You don't?
No, that's what show cause used to mean, but he's already coaching.
Well, the NCAA can say he's not allowed to coach.
I don't think that's what that means.
Let me rephrase. What's it mean? What's it mean?
I don't think that's what's happening.
So what's it mean?
I'm asking you, what's it mean?
Well, the next time he leaves,
show
when
cause
he leaves,
used to mean you had to prove your case to the NCAA why he should be allowed to coach again before he's allowed to coach, and it used to scare schools off so much they wouldn't even touch you. I think the guy's still coaching.
Okay, so what's that mean? When he leaves McNeese and he wants to go to wherever he wants to go, now he's got to go to a 2-year show cause?
I would guess. But why have a show cause if you're already coaching?
Well, just one of the many things.
You mean there are rules?
Just one of the many
occasionally.
Many things.
It is very random.
It's very random.
I forget what coach it was, and he said that they had been doing something improper. 3-game suspension. Like, what? What? What am I?
Very random.
All right.
Okay.
So once again, here let's try to do this. Let's not be here next Sunday, huh? let's not have anything to talk about next Sunday. But what we will do is, as this story continues to develop and as this story warrants more and more coverage, then we're around, and we'll jump back in. We have a consensus on that?
Sure.
All right. Three Guys brought to us by the Burdett Camping Center, the only warranty forever RV dealer in all of West Virginia. Visit burdettcamping.com. By GoMart. Make sure you're a rewards member. You can easily do it. Go to gomart.com for the details. And that bonus thing, man, all those points that you're going to get there, 5,000 bonus. It's triple on, hell's bells. It's triple on what day? Tuesday. Every Tuesday in June and July, you earn triple rewards points. So check that out. Three Guys brought to us by Comax Business Systems. From one phone line to 1,000 phone lines, they can provide all the phone systems that you need. Purchase, lease, or rent. They'll come in, do a full assessment, let you know what works best for you. Visit them. Managed IT and more. Three Guys brought to us by Lou Wendell Marine Sales in St. Albans. They sell family fun. Visit them, LouWendellMarineSales.com. That's LouWendellMarineSales.com. And by the fine folks at Burdett Camping, where your warranty lasts forever on everything that you buy. What more could one ask? Plus, $10,000 off on the Forest River Travel Trailer and Toy Hauler. 10,000 American bucks off. Special thanks to Tyler County Consolidated. Kennedy for coming in. His run's almost over here. He'll
Jack Carlson's here too.
Well, I was going to say that.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's fine. But Taylor's run's almost over. He's leaving us.
Entering the transfer portal?
He's in the portal. And in this particular case, we don't want him back. Like if he comes back, hey, I've been kind of rethinking this thing. But no, we're good.
That's not very nice. That's unnecessary.
No, you can always come back. You can come back.
You will? You'll take him back?
Sure.
Okay. But I think in his announcement, it did not include considering three guys in my recruitment.
He
did not say that.
He did not say potentially
it was
could
more
come
of the
back.
variety. I'm entering the portal, which means probably
see you, don't want to be you was more his. Yeah. And also helping him out here, Jumpin' Jack Carlson, who's also in for the summer as part of one of our outstanding interns.
Who has shown loyalty.
He's shown loyalty. He's Don Nealon would say, Jack's got it. I'd take as many. Don Nealon would say, I'd take as many Jack Carlsons as I could get.
Good transfer portal pickup for us.
Oh yeah.
Nothing taketh away.
5-star. All right, we're out. See you.